ensures that the cats are vaccinated. There are a variety of scientific studies proving TMPR is the only humane and cost-effective method to effectively control unknown cat populations. We are happy to share these articles with city leaders in the community to prove the program's effectiveness nationwide. We know there are challenges facing animal services and understand that the community needs to be a part of the solution. Existing cat caregivers and volunteers are key to sustaining this program and ensuring its success. With over 400 signatures on our petition and 500 letters being sent to elected officials, the people of Odessa have voiced the support TMPR. Residents care about their pets in the community, and many are already doing the work. We simply want the support and resources right here in their home in Odessa. The city must also ensure caregivers of community cats are protected from any current laws. The Texas Bill 3660, signed into law in 2023, clarifies that any person who releases a cat through our program will not be embedding a cat under Texas animal cruelty laws. A pilot program could also circumvent these types of regulations until the program can be proven successful by the city. We are asking for a true commitment to saving our animals. Odessa Animal Services has the opportunity to partner with local national organizations to implement this program, and we urge you to schedule a meeting with this organization to discuss and collaborate ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, thank you, ladies. We're going to move on to our open topics, which includes our playpen cover. Please, Kelly, if you could share that information with us.
So as y'all know, the Animal Advisory Committee did a fundraiser and raised money to put play yards. What is that? Hang on. Put a cover over the play yard, and we're going to take a look at it. Mr. Connell came out, and we spoke to the media. Can I get it? There it goes. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like from the outside. You can see, unfortunately, we don't have all our things up. We've got the cover over it. It's a solid metal. We did some bids on it. Instead of going with a cloth one, we thought that the metal would hold up a lot better. That's kind of a view when you look down the middle of the aisle at what it looks like covering the pens. That's some of the dogs, and it really helps because the sun beating down on that artificial turf will blister their feet, so we couldn't put them out there through the heat of the day. But now, even though it may be 85 degrees, not 88 degrees, it's about 5 degrees cooler under there, so it's really helped. Oh, yeah, go on. There's some of the dogs out there looking at each other. Each play yard kennel has a dog poo station that we use. And we clean it with the same disease chemicals that we clean inside the shelter. We use the same stuff to prevent the parvo or spread any viruses out there. So that's that. The fencing, pretty simple. We went with the same color, that tall fence, that dark burnished slate fencing. It's 8 foot tall around all our areas, including those play yards. And that's to help stop people from throwing animals over. We were having a bad situation with people doing that, breaking legs and everything else. So, this has so far really stopped that issue. Y'all have any questions about that?
I have one about the shelter, the covered shelter and everything. Will that make it, I've kind of been waiting on this because I want to bring my grandson up to volunteer and pet the animals, but it's either hot or cold. So will that help volunteers to get to come and?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if you bring a certain size of kid or something, we're not going to put 80-pound bully.
Oh, no, this is a big kid, so.
Yeah, they can go out. We'll be able to let them go out in there and volunteer.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
How does that work as far as like if you have your own pet and you want to meet, do a meet and greet?
A great meet, basically we require that animal have been currently vaccinated. So we don't want somebody to bring an animal that they got 2 weeks ago off the streets, because we don't know if it's carrying a virus or not. So they have to be vaccinated with current vaccinations. And then they can bring them up there and we'll gently introduce them in the playground.
Would fans help keep that area cooler even with the cover, or is it necessary?
I think we're gonna have to look towards fans, but what I have to do is I have to look at the electrical needs. Can I get electrical underneath that specific building? And that's something that I have to get with the building services and see if it's possible. If it is, then I have to start getting into the construction process. But yeah, I think either one of those big fans, great big fans, you know what they call them, or some alternating ones or something would be
But
better.
there's enough clearance for a fan to go under there?
Yeah, there is.
Any other questions?
We were out there during the heat of the summer, and I'm not a heat lover, but it was comfortable. You know?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah. Now, if it's over 100 degrees out there, we're not gonna take the dogs regardless of the shade we have. It's just too hot out there. You know, they've been in air conditioning, and then you take them out, put them out in 100-degree weather, it's not good. So we have to look at the animals and at the weather and temperature.
Right, Kelly. All right, we're gonna move on to our TNR open topic that we've discussed quite extensively, both as a committee and independently, so can you show us what you got, Kelly?
So at the last meeting we had, I wish Connie would have been here, because she wanted to look into it a little bit more. So what I did was, I put together a slideshow for you to look at, with various things in it. So TNR, it's trap, neuter, release of feral or wild animals. Now, we say cats, but if you look at cats, are we gonna look at dogs? Because cats are just one part of the problem. We got a lot of dogs out there that people are not taking care of. So do we trap, neuter, and release the dogs too? So is it just gonna be cats or is it gonna be dogs? So specifically, we're looking at cats today.
What's everybody doing?
Shut up.
Walk of shame, Marilyn. Okay, so your most common pros and cons in this. The pros are it's considered humane. Nobody wants to kill, who wants to do it? It reduces unwanted litters, there's health benefits, it prevents any type of cancers, reduces overall number, and it's compassionate. A lot of people look at their community at their euthanasia rate. Well, we must not be very humane. Well, it's compassionate, yes, to save animals. We all want to save animals. The opposite side of the thing that we've been able to research, it's not a permanent solution. Wildlife impact, there's a lot of endangered species that cats go after. I mean, after all, they're hunting. They're out there and they're hunting. Public health and the spread to humans. Is there anything in a public health issue that could spread to a human from a cat? Funding, it costs. Food, vaccines, all of it. Shelter, it costs a lot. Legal issues, social neighborhood problems. You may have 2 people in the neighborhood that want TNR, and they may have 50 cats per house. And then you got 2 neighbors over here that absolutely despise it, but they don't want to cause the neighborhood fight. What do you do? And I mean, we hear it every day, both sides, every day. And a lot of it has to do with, I don't want to make my neighbor mad, but I sure wish they'd quit that. That's what we do. Lack of ownership and responsibility. Again, lack of ownership. Well, I'm just feeding them, but I don't own them. Well, who owns them? Who's responsible for what they do? So those are the kind of the pros and the cons. You've seen this chart before. This is how fast a cat can breed. It is not a 2-time-a-year breed like a dog is. A cat's gonna breed multiple times. And I found this chart, I thought it was pretty interesting in an 8-year period, out of one breeding cycle, they estimate 2 million cats can produce, because you've got all their kits and their offsprings and everybody's breeding with them. So how accurate is that? I don't know, but those are some of the ones that people out in the community use. Now we look at cat viruses and parasites. You've got feline leukemia, panleukopenia, which is like a distemper parvo in a cat. The calcivirus is like a cat flu. Infectious peritonitis from the virus. FIV, which is your, correlate that to human HIV. Then you got hookworms, roundwood, tapeworms, fleas, lice, toxoplasmosis. That is transmittable to humans. Rabies is transmittable to humans, and scratch fever, that's an infection you get from them, and it could go cellulitis and everything else. So those are some of the cat issues that you have with public safety and health. Now, what is a colony? It's a neighborhood or an area where an animal was born, migrated to, arrived at, released, or dumped. Plain and simple. It can contain as few or as many, depending on the outlying factors. How much food is there? How big's the pack? How many threats are to it? Coyotes, dogs, cars. So it's an ever fluctuating thing. It's not, well, this neighborhood has 20 cats and that's all it'll ever have. No matter if you spay them or not, that's all they'll ever have. Well, that'll never happen, because you've got all these mitigating factors. Unmanaged or managed. So do we have a caretaker taking care of them or not? I've seen posts where it's like, I've got over 60 cats and I can't feed them anymore. Somebody's got to take them. You know, or they just leave them alone. They'll die off after. What do they do? So these are some of the things we look at. Now, the discussion on this, what is humane? Is altering them, catching them, altering them, vaccinating one time, throwing them out there in that street and leaving them? Is that humane? Or is it? Well, they're not going to produce anymore. Yeah, but is it humane? Is that something that is humane? Who cares for them? Who's going to give them the food, the annual vaccines, the vet care? You got a kitten that limps up there sick, pussed up eyes and everything else. Who's going to pay for that vet care? Oh, well, they're feral. Why should we, well, is that humane? To leave them that way? Who's going to pay for it? And we all know what vet bills look like today. I can tell you. And housing. Inclement weather, you gonna put them up in a housing? Heat lamps, cold, insulated. What are we gonna do? Who's gonna make sure that they're out there being housed properly? Spay and neuter cost. We have minimal cost. You got spay and neuter clinics, but they're all going about $70, $80 for the clinics. But your regular vets can be up $150, $200 to $400. So who's going to pay for that? On an unlimited amount of cats. Think about it. And then if down the road you got to think about dogs, think about it. Attacks and bites and medical bills. So when they attack somebody, which we all know they have, or they bite somebody, we have to quarantine them if we can catch them and figure out which one did it. Who's going to pay that person's medical bill? Who's going to be responsible for it? Liability for property damage. I got stopped in a restaurant one day by a man that said, what do I do about these feral cats? They have torn up my leather seat on my motorcycle, sharpening their claws. Who do I find to pay for that? I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. Now, who pays for it? Or the man that stopped us and said my patio furniture is being shredded. Who's going to pay for my patio? I said, well, who do the cats belong to? So who's going to look at that? Neighborhood sign up for care. Is everybody in the neighborhood in agreement with this TNR program? Everybody in the neighborhood. We got one guy that said there's at least 50 cats I want gone, but my next door neighbor's feeding them, and I don't want to make them mad because they're nice people. So you have these that are saying absolutely not. You have these that are saying absolutely so. Well, where is everybody else on the same page? And these are the factors we have to look at when we deal with this TNR discussion. It's not a simple thing, it's a complex issue. I looked at this study, University of Florida. In theory, sterilizing enough cats so that the birth rate is less than the death rate would reduce the cat population in a given area. However, this assumes a closed population. Remember I talked about that a minute ago? Only 20 cats, period. That's a closed population. It's a phenomenon that's not been observed in any of the studies. Instead, the studies observed cats immigrating into colonies, dispersing from other areas, being released into colonies by people, dumping more cats, right? Even in a closed population, a large proportion of the colony must be sterilized. 71 to 94% is what they're saying before the population will decline over time. It's not immediate. Is over time, which requires a significant input of resources. Another concern is whether TNR is humane or truly beneficial for the welfare of the cats. Cats usually experience painful death and suffer from various diseases and injuries during their lifetimes. Additionally, feral cat colonies are a source of public and wildlife health risks. So when somebody says you need to support TNR, there's various sides of it. It's not just one side. Would I love to see all the cats live? Absolutely. But it's an impossibility. Because in our community, nobody is, well, let me back up. A lot of people are not vaccinating. They're not containing them. They're not keeping them in their yards or in their home or in their patios. Or the dogs, they're not tethering them, they're not doing anything, they're just letting them roam. And until the community steps forward and does all of those, you are fighting a battle. You're fighting a battle that's going to continue on, and they've talked about this battle before. Ms. Frost can tell you that in the past. It's something that's not simple, and it's not going to go away.
And we've discussed, this is not the first time we've discussed this.
Correct.
And the city did a poll of the citizens wanting to know if they would approve of a TNR, did they want a TNR program? And they came and they said no, they don't want a TNR. You know, and TNR, it doesn't work. I've seen it. I've worked it, I've tried it, and it doesn't work. You know, the best thing to do is to trap the cat, take it into Odessa Animal Services, and whatever happens, happens. You know, I've taken in a lot of cats. I have socialized them. I have got them spayed or neutered. I've let them have their kittens in my home if they're pregnant. And then I've adopted them out. I've given them to rescues. They've been shipped, you know, they've been transported off to other homes, to other states. And that's the best thing that I can figure out I can do for the cats of Odessa. And I have, you know, I get phone calls from, you know, my neighbors. Can you take this kitten? Can you take this cat? And I decide whether or not it can be socialized. If it can't, it comes to Odessa Animal Services. If it can, I leave it in my home, I quarantine it, everything else gets done for it. But, you know, our citizens don't want this. Not to mention the fact that the first line of defense for Odessa Animal Services, we are supposed to contain the diseases that both dogs and cats carry. That's our number one priority to our taxpayers, and this is a taxpayer entity. So, you know, these cats they're carrying diseases. Our first thing is, we've got to get that cat out of the population before that disease spreads. And this is something that I should say, but I'm going to anyway. Beth, I follow your page for the Cat Wranglers, and I applaud what you do, but we're not Midland. We're Odessa. I would not come into Midland and tell you what you ought to do with your animals. Please don't come into Odessa and tell us what to do. And you out of Houston. I just got back from Houston. You have some problems too. Don't come into Odessa and tell us what to do.
With Odessa residents go to Midland to get these resources.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear you.
So Odessa residents go to Midland to get the resources that they can get here. That's why other organizations.
Well, we don't want you here. I
We
mean,
appreciate
I'm
it.
not speaking, okay, I'm not speaking for the whole board, but I don't want you here. And I don't want my time wasted. I want to spend my time on taking care of pet parents, of animals that need homes, of dogs and cats up at the shelter, anything I can do. And the majority of the things I do comes out of my pocket. So don't come in here and tell us what to do, because it's not gonna work. We are paid by the taxpayers, and they tell us what to do. Is that understood?
Correct, and so we're just here amplifying the voice.
I don't
of
wanna
Odessa
hear anymore.
residents.
All right, I appreciate that, Lisa.
So we can appreciate, everybody can appreciate organizations, whether it's Odessa Midland, whether it's Crane, Monahans, that has an organization that can provide a low-cost service. Everybody enjoys that. However, and you're correct, there is state law that says you can't be charged with abandonment. But the city of Odessa has city ordinances on stray. If you're feeding a stray animal, you are in care, custody, and control, you can be charged for at large.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
not abandonment, it's at large. And we have ordinances to prevent that, because we're trying to stop it on this side, same way we enacted ordinances for breeding permits, litter permits, altering, spay, neuter is mandatory, and microchipping. That's the first step to try and get the community to get on board with what we're doing. We've got to stop the stray problem, because we don't want our community to be in danger by being attacked by animals. And that's what's happening. It's because this guy won't lock up his dog, he goes over there when I'm trying to go to the dumpster and it bites him. That's a bigger problem, really, than a feral problem. So we applaud any organization that allows an Odessa resident to go over there and spend their money. But it's a more complex problem that, well, we can do it. Well, right now, I don't think the city wants to do it.
Yeah, I understand it's a complex, complex problem, it's not one solution, it's
All
like
right.
programs.
Thank you so much. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
I have some miscellaneous ones. Animal control officer, could you just paint a picture for me real quick? If they're going to get a dog that's hard to get, how do they get him? If they're trying to capture a cat, a feline, how do they capture the feline? What's the different techniques that they
Well,
available to them?
With a dog, if they see the dog, they're gonna try and capture it with a catch pole,
Mhm.
if at all possible. If they're hard to catch, they'll use a trap. Our problem is, people don't want animals in traps, and they destroy our traps. We'll get a complaint, we got a complaint one time at a daycare, that this dog kept coming over and it was trying to get the kids. So we put a big trap out there for the dog, because we couldn't find it. Next morning, it was destroyed. We'll set a trap, on a campus, and they'll let the animals out. A cat is harder to trap,
Exactly.
because you can't catch them with a catch pole, so we use traps. And they're humane traps, they don't hurt them, they just go inside, try and get whatever we baited it with, which is usually some cat food or dog food or something, and they'll trip it and it'll hold them there. And then the officers, they won't set a trap overnight like that unless we have somebody that can monitor that trap. Like at your home, if you were to call and say, hey, I've got a trap over, we'll tell you, don't do it after hours because you can't come get it. So if we set it during the day and you say, I'll watch it, and as soon as it gets up, I'll call you, that's great. That's what
And
we
I'd
need.
like a definition on this. Let's see how I can put this. Valuing life. From my position, I look at the safety of the community. I'm on an animal board because I happen to love animals. But I am also here in different roles for safety of the community. So let's unpack this a little bit. I'd like to know if I'm getting a little bit of information that's not based on overall general trends. And what it is I'll get calls from individuals, well, they're actually complaining about a feral population, and they're having, for some reason or another, little ones that are being attacked by the animals. Are feral cats pretty nice critters, or are they pretty aggressive?
No, they will attack.
Overall, not just one or two of them, but that's the only thing that I have a hesitation at, is that protecting the community. Might have to protect the humans first, and then secondary to try to protect the animals. So I don't know if that's your that's an accurate definition of a feline feral cat, that they can be aggressive.
We define community cats. They can be feral, they can be friendly, they can be social. It just depends.
It depends
how
on
often
that,
they feed
yeah.
them. But even with very feral cats, they're more scared of you than you are of them. They actually, run away.
Mhm.
You get close to them and stuff. That's why it's kind of harder to trap them, and we use the humane traps to kind of lure them with food versus us going up to them. But in regards to public health, introducing those vaccinations are gonna increase the immunity of the colony. Because right now, cats are outside, and yes, they're carrying diseases and they're not being vaccinated. So if they're gonna be outside regardless, whether they're trap and kill or TNR, we might as well have them vaccinated. And according to the CDC, there has not been a transmission of cat to human rabies in 45 years. That's because there's been an increase rabies vaccinations nationwide for TNR.
Okay. Kelly, is that an exception, or is that an overall generality for for those populations in general?
A lot of people, I mean, there's two sides to every story.
Sure.
I've even shown y'all what happened with a 2-year-old child that was in her front yard and was attacked by a feral cat. Had to go to the hospital. Who's gonna pay for that?
But if it was vaccinated, if it was already.
It doesn't matter. It's a rabies containment. We have to try and find that animal and contain it. The problem is, it's a child playing in its own yard and a feral cat attacked it. And we all know what that looked like in the end.
And a pregnant mother.
And a pregnant mother, which can pass off the toxoplasmosis stuff. We have found that we are finding more and more sick animals. Because like you said, it's rare that you can go up to a feral cat and catch it. So how are you gonna catch 70 to 90% of these animals and alter them? Because we've got to, if you wanna talk about increasing staff, you better increase staff. I've got 2 officers on the streets right now. That's all we've got. For the city of Odessa, 800 calls a month. Oh, now we're gonna go out and trap, neuter, release cats? There's a whole lot bigger picture than just, we wanna save all these feral cats. It's a whole lot bigger picture, and that's how Odessa looks at it. We've gotta look at everything and around, cost-wise, everything. We're not just gonna play off emotions. 'Cause if we did that, I'd be crying every second of the day for what I do.
She's got a question.
As a homeowner here in Odessa, I live in Ector County. I have 2 acres of land. My neighbor across the street feeds the feral cats. I don't do cats, I do dogs. I have fences, I contain my animals, I care for my animals. But when I go out into my backyard and see my dogs being attacked by feral cats that want their food and their water, I get angry. And I've had that was my parents' neighbor. We've known him 45 years, and I told her, you need to thin the herd, because at one point there was over 100 cats and they spent all their time in my 2 acres. And I finally told her, the next time one of those cats attacks my dogs, I'm gonna get mine done. Because I'm paying the vet bills. I had pure breed corgi, got an eye ripped by a feral that wanted her food. I'm frustrated by it, and I finally put my foot down with the neighbor and said, this is illegal, you're not even supposed to be feeding them. But I cut you some slack because I know you just care about them. But you have to start fixing them or thinning them out. She's down 40. But I have seen that as they get used to their environment, they get used to being fed by this woman, and she can't feed enough for that many cats. You know, I see her put up one bowl, one big bowl, but still, that's 40 cats. They get brave, and they come into my yard. Well, they don't do that anymore, because I do. I have a rifle at the back door, and when they come in the yard and they start hissing at my dogs, I call my dogs off, and then I shoot at them, because I'm frustrated. I'm angry that I care for my animals. I contain my animals. But all these cats are running loose, and I have no idea what they have, but I'm gonna pay the price for it. So I understand the homeowners and the people that are frustrated and sick of the ferals, because I don't see it making a difference. Even though she's trapped, she's neutered them, and then she's released them back into our neighborhood. It's cut down. It's not 100 now, it's about 40. But still, they're getting into my garage in the winter to stay warm. And so, you know, brand new car, you go out and hear them that night, next day, you've got cat scratches on the hood of your brand new car. Nobody but me is gonna pay for that. And so, as a homeowner, I'm frustrated. As a taxpayer, I'm frustrated.
That's what I mean by it's a complex issue. It's not just a simple, oh, y'all don't like animals, y'all don't like, it's a lot more complex issue than that. And you can't, okay, I appreciate it, there's 500 signatures, well, we're a town of 145,000 people. So, and there's that silent majority out there that doesn't say anything because they don't wanna look like they're murderers, killers, fascists, all the nice little terms that you get called, and backlash on Facebook, social media. So it's a bigger problem than just saying, yeah, let's just go ahead, do TNR. And then what about the dogs? Because I'm gonna be back at you, what about the dogs? Can I go TNR all the female dogs we catch? No. Good. Can I speak?
Go ahead, ma'am.
No, we can't do dogs because dogs are different than cats. And dogs do attack people. Cats will run if you give them a chance. Cats are, what she said, much more afraid of us than we are of them. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Usually when somebody tries to catch them or sticks their hand in to break up a cat fight, which, by the way, we should never, ever do. Please don't ever do that. Let them fight. That's what they do. TNR does work, but it takes time. Even this lady over here, and I sympathize with your situation. But even you said it went from 100 to 40. It'll go less once they're neutered and spayed. You know, a spayed cat can't give any more kittens, which is the whole idea. Any house, somebody mentioned a couple of houses with 50 cats and more. Any house with 50 cats should be cited and emptied. That's outrageous. People shouldn't have that many cats. They can't take care of that many cats. But that's not the cat's fault. That's the person's fault. And I would challenge that Odessans don't want TNR. There's 110,000 Odessans. And I know you did a survey, but you didn't survey everybody. You couldn't have. There's an awful lot of people that do want TNR because TNR works over time. It does not help cats to kill them. It just doesn't. I know years past, people used to take a bag of kittens and throw them in the lake. No, that doesn't help understand its work. I understand you got 2 animal control officers, and that's not enough. That's absolutely not enough. We can't do TNR with dogs because dogs are dangerous. Dogs will attack with no provocation sometimes. Cats don't. They'll attack out of self-defense, and that's about it. And they'll fight over food. I understand that too. They'll fight over food. But it doesn't help anything to just kill them, because more cats will come back from surrounding areas. It doesn't get rid of them. Gets rid of them for maybe a week or 2 before the surrounding cats realize, oh, this is empty. Let me go live there.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. We're running short on time. I appreciate your input so much. Anybody else have any more questions? Input? Okay. All right, well, the advisory board has looked at this extensively. TNR program, independently reviewed it, researched. I've asked them to pros, the cons, and to be honest about their input. This involves the city of Odessa residents, the taxpayers. It doesn't involve even the county, it's the city. We don't have any control over what's going on in the county. We have control over what's going on in the city. And it doesn't involve any other cities. It doesn't involve Midland or Kermit, Andrews. It involves Odessa city residents. And I would like to make a motion that we decline to move forward with the TNR program.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposition? Okay, it's a unanimous decision. I appreciate everybody's time today. That's a really tough subject, and we've struggled with it for a long time, and we need to make some decisions, and we have. And Kelly, I really appreciate all the hard work with the September clinic. It was a huge
Yeah, we had our
success.
clinic this past Saturday. Colorado City Vets did 441. Dr. Light's office did 394 for a total of 835 total vaccines.
Wow.
We did 132 microchips. So last one we had in May, I think we had 1,000 and something vaccines. We're only 200 off. So it's getting better. This time we started just about at 10 o'clock, and we were finished about 12:30, 1:45 with all of it. So you're talking 830 vaccines in 10, 11, 12, 2.5 hours. We did pretty good. And we had a line, but it went pretty quick.
Well, it ran very smoothly.
Huh?
It all ran very smoothly, so.
I think it's probably the smoothest one that has run. And yeah, we hope to do a little better next time, a little more.
Right. Anybody have any input or raise any new issues? Okay. Make a motion to close the meeting.
I motion.
I second.
Second.
Huh.
Thank you all so much.